Is a timeout an effective measure for a misbehaving, highly sensitive child? If not, what would be a better way? And if yes, why? Timeouts. I love timeout, but here's how it works in a family with sensitive children. Timeout, and this is going to apply to many of the questions coming in a little bit about the parents feeling overwhelmed. Timeout is something that everyone needs to be able to do. We need to know how to do it. If you're highly sensitive or your child is highly sensitive, you need a break many times a day. And in my blog in early February of 2020, I wrote about taking 3 breaths. 3, it's not very much and it doesn't take very long. And so what I like to do, I do use the term timeout with my families, and I used it in my own family. Usually I was taking a timeout. So parents, I really want you to reframe timeout for yourself. And we'll get into the parents a little bit more. Timeout is not an effective discipline measure for highly sensitive children. And in fact, did you know that when you're overstimulated or overaroused, you can't learn anything? At the same time, when you're in that place, raise your hand if you've had a really intense moment of freaking out, an anxiety attack, a panic attack, or maybe just so overstimulated and overwhelmed that you couldn't function in the world. There's my hand. So when you're in those moments, whether you're a child or an adult, it's very, very hard to interrupt them. The best thing, the most important thing that we can do is to prevent them. So I hope that my families out here will learn to use timeouts as preventative measures, right? So what does a timeout look like? A timeout is taking some time away from other people. It might mean go outside. My teen group that meets on Saturday mornings, our ecotherapy group. We were talking about what are all the various tools, and one of them that we decided we would we paint them on tiles and use them in our work. One we decided we would make is go outside, and is such an important one for me and probably for almost everyone who's listening. So how can we teach our children to use timeouts throughout the day? How can we teach them to raise their hand and ask to go to the bathroom? Well, one of the things that's really important too is to have an agreement with the child's teacher and their school to help them understand that these kids are amazing kids. They're articulate, they're aware of the world, they're interested, they love to learn, they love to have deep conversations, and they're thinking deeply all the time. So they are a teacher's best friend, favorite student until they're overstimulated. So most teachers in schools are really willing and able to help these children develop codes with their teachers for taking a timeout. Now, I think when this question was put in, I know this question was put in by a dad. When this question was put in by this dad, I think he was thinking, when the child is misbehaving, what do we do? What's the best intervention for a highly sensitive child who's misbehaving? And what I want to say about that is that the way you deal with a highly sensitive child who's misbehaving is to discuss it before and after, but not during. So how do you deal with this? You have to have really strong structure and really clear limits about what is acceptable. I remember when my child was young, we would be at the playground. It would be time to start packing up. And we would say, we're going to be leaving in 20 minutes. We're going to be leaving in 10 minutes. 5 minutes left to play. Okay, would you rather spend your last 2 minutes doing this or doing that? And really giving him a lot of warning and a lot of opportunity to process the transition. So timeouts are so appropriate. Timeouts in the middle of a fit, in the middle of misbehavior, is not the best way to create a change in that behavior. Usually a discussion will really do the trick with a highly sensitive child, but if they're overstimulated, they can't talk.